This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, build your online presence with Squarespace. Hey everyone, I'm Ace of Clay and welcome to another sculpting video. If you're new here, I'm a sculptor and every week I make a new sculpture. Today I'm sculpting Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth, but if he looked like a stop motion character. So I'm basically sculpting him in my style. Now if you're not familiar with the movie Labyrinth, it's about a 16-year-old girl named Sarah who is given 13 hours to solve a labyrinth and rescue her baby brother Toby when her wish for him to be taken away is granted by the Goblin King. And that's who we're sculpting today again. What blows my mind is that when this movie was first released, nobody really liked it in the United States until later on, and now it's a cult classic. It's a Jim Henson masterpiece and everybody loves it, myself included. And then before we get started, don't forget to grab your Winston plush at aceofclay.com. This guy is ready to come home with you. He features all of his details. He's got real buttons, beautiful embroidery, a little hang tag with his backstory, and he's awesome and he would love for you to order him. So aceofclay.com, link in the description box below. And now without further ado, let's sculpt Jareth. Alright, let's get started with the armature. I'm shaping it out from some aluminum wire, and then I'm sticking it into some pre-drilled holes in my base, and then attaching the arms with another piece of wire. And here I'm going to brush on some bacon bond so that my Super Sculpey Ultralight that I'll be using to bulk out the character will stick really well to that wire. And of course we can't forget the neck, just want to poke that in and get this in the oven. And once it's baked and completely cooled down, it's time to start adding our clay. For this project, I'm using Super Sculpey Original for the body. I'm going to start with the legs and then cover that ultralight area with a nice thin sheet of Super Sculpey, get everything nice and smooth so we can start adding the details. And here I'm going to start adding those details, starting with the gold piece on his pants, and then I'm going to work my way onto his jacket. And again, this is going to be a stylized depiction of Jareth, so I want to keep that in mind while I'm working and not make anything too realistic. Alright, now the back of his coat is very long. It goes almost all the way down to his feet, so I want to make the boots first. Now for the tail of his coat, I'm making this out of clay so that it stays flexible after it's baked and I don't have to put any armature in it. I'm going to just sort of position it how I want it, add a couple wrinkles, and then add it to the sculpture and blend the top of it in with my Super Sculpey that's already there. Alright, now I'm going to start working on his jabbet, which is the fancy name for the fluffy tie that he wears. So we're going to start with the neck part, add some wrinkles to that, and then we can start adding the layers for the rest of the jabbet that cascades down his chest. But not before we add the fancy collar on his coat. Now we're going to add the giant lapels on his jacket, like so, and then keep in mind all the gray is cosplay. I'm not using Super Sculpey Firm or anything. All the gray is cosplay, all the pink is Super Sculpey Original. I'm going to pop on his little bejeweled button really quick, and then I'm going to trim the excess clay around his shoulders off before I pre-bake him, just so that it's easier to attach the arms. Now we're going to add that jabbet. And for the final step before pre-baking, I'm going to add some texture to his coat using some bacon bond and a paintbrush. Just dab it like this. Alright, now let's take a break from the body and start working on his head. I got some Super Sculpey Living Doll over a ball of aluminum foil, adding a skewer to hold on to while I sculpt. And we're going to start by pressing in his eye sockets and figuring out the shape of his mouth. And of course I want to pop on his chin, blend that in with my spoon tool, and mapping out the rest of his face to get this to start looking like a caricature of David Bowie. Now here's a little tip for you that you may not have thought of. When You're sculpting a likeness of someone who plays a character like I am. Use reference photos of the actor out of costume. This will make it easier to see their facial features and really make sure it looks like them. Then reference photos of them in costume for makeup, hair, and so on and so forth. This is for, of course, characters that aren't heavily covered in prosthetics or anything like that, but it does make it a lot easier. So for example, I used photos of David Bowie, not photos of Jareth, when I was sculpting his face. And we're just going to do a little bit of blending at the nostrils, like that. And then we're going to move on to the mouth area, make sure everything's nice and smooth. And Living Doll is perfect for blending. It is the most premium polymer clay out there, in my opinion. Now we're just going to pop in his eyes. We're going to leave them like this because, again, we're going for that stop motion style. And we're just going to add a quick eyelid and then add, of course, his iconic eyebrows. After bringing out his cheekbones a little bit more and brushing the surface with clay softener, this guy is done and ready to bake. Now back to his body. Let's start the boring part of adding the clay to the arms and positioning them like that you've seen a million times if you frequent this channel. And then blend them into the rest of the pre-baked body with some nice big shoulder pads. All right, we're gonna take a quick break from our video to talk about our sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you're a big business, a small business, a freelance designer, or a sculptor like me, Squarespace has everything you need to showcase your brand, sell your products, and more. I've been using Squarespace for over 4 years now, even before they started sponsoring me, and I could not be happier with my experience. Their products are so streamlined and so easy to use that managing my website, aceofclay.com, is truly a breeze. Some of my favorite features include the portfolios and galleries. In my line of work, I have to show my art to the world, and Squarespace's beautiful portfolios allow me to do just that. I opened my online store where I sell stickers, posters, plushes, and more, and Squarespace makes everything so easy. I can track my inventory, print shipping labels, I get notifications when something sells, and everything I need is right there in the platform. You can even sell digital downloads. They really have everything you need to start selling online. And at this day and age, if you're an online business, you've got to have a social media presence, and Squarespace allows you to integrate all of your social media platforms into any page of your website. So if everything I said sounds good, head on over to squarespace.com, start a free trial, and when you're ready to go live, go to squarespace.com/aceofclay to save 10% on your purchase of a website or domain using my code aceofclay. Thanks again, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Now back to our sculpture. All right, let's finish up those arms with some folds and wrinkles and then move on to the hands. And once the hand's on, I'm going to add his ruffles and the very large cuffs that he has on his jacket. Now I'm just going to add some more texture to the new areas of his coat with that bacon bond, attach his head, and get him in the oven. And once he's baked, it's time for paint. The paints that I'm using are Army Painter brand, and I do use a couple Jacquard paints or Jacquard for the metallics on him. So we're just going to start with his skin tone, add some highlights by lightening that color and dabbing it on. fixed my lighting. Now you can actually see what I'm doing a little better. And I need to remember this setup for next time. Now I always start with the face on a character just because it takes the longest and it's the point of painting where I am least tired. So I really always want to take my time on the faces, so I always, you know, do them first. So let's add his makeup, his irises, and get that face looking just like Jareth. There we go. I love how 80s this guy looks. Now I'm going to start painting his jabbet and the rest of his clothes. And then for his jacket, I'm going to paint it completely black because it is going to be a metallic navy blue. So I want to make everything black first because metallics always look best over black. So let's go ahead and do that now. And for the inside of the coat, we're going to use this nice creamy metallic color right on top of that gray cosplay. Worked beautifully. Now let's turn that coat navy blue. Now I'm going to go ahead and start painting the gold accents on him. Now the shoulder area and the lapels and the cuffs on his jacket are like completely blinged out. So I got these different sized blue glitter pieces and I'm attaching them with some super glue. If you have a better glue for this, let me know what it is in the comments. This is all I had, but it worked fine. So we're just adding all the little bejingles one at a time. And then I get kind of tired and just sort of add all the little glitter like that and then blow it off. And my desk is completely covered in glitter at this point, but that's okay. It's all for the art. Now let's do the other side. Oh, and I also got some really, really tiny, they called them nail rhinestones. Like it's for like when you get your nails done, you can put like little rhinestones on them. They're so tiny and they were perfect. Anyway, now for the hair, I'm using this synthetic wool in this blonde color. And then I also have a more ashy grayish blonde that I mix in there too, just to make it look, you know, more dimensional. And I'm attaching this with some Fabri-Tac fabric glue. This is the best glue to glue any fabric or hair to a polymer clay sculpture. Amazing. Just gonna work in sections and really take my time because his hair is so specific. He's got a very distinct hairstyle. I'm sure there's a name for it. I know it's not called a wolf cut, or is it called a wolf cut? I don't know. But I'm just going to add it in very small sections and keep it fairly thin. He's got a lot of texture, a lot of layers, and I just want to make sure this looks right. And instead of adding all the hair in like a big chunk and then cutting and styling it after, I'm styling it as I go because I have no idea how I would even approach this if I was just cutting it from scratch from a big chunk. I'm not a hairstylist, but this turned out pretty good. Now for the front piece, I got to put on some bangs, which kind of made me nervous because I've never, you know, added bangs to any sculpture before, but it worked out. And I'm just going to add them, you know, this small little piece there, stick them on. And then I get to a point where I start twisting the ends just to make them a little more like PC and like his bangs. So there we go. Let's stick those on, add another little chunk in the middle. And then we're gonna start twisting the ends like this. And that wool really works well for that because it like wants to do this. Now for the final piece of his hair, I made this little bow by tying more hair around the middle of it and then just sort of fanning it out. This is gonna create that nice big fan thing on top of his head like that. And look at it, it actually worked. It actually looks like his hair. I was so happy at this point. And then all that's left is to paint the base, and say it with me. And he's done! My sculpture of Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth is complete. Let me know how you think I did in the comments. He turned out so good. Look. Now halfway through sculpting him, I was trying to decide if I was going to give him clay hair or real hair, and the only thing stopping me from doing the real hair was kind of like, I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I've never done a hairstyle like that intricate and specific with that synthetic wool, but I think, you know, with being patient and, you know, really taking my time, I think it turned out pretty good. And he definitely looks like a stop motion version of himself, if you ask me. So again, let me know how you think I did in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ace of Clay, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.